Hey everyone, I'm Keely Maryum. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm discussing a topic that is very close to my heart, that is very important to me, and that is my hijab, but more specifically, how I came to wear the hijab, what led me to that decision. So to begin this story, I'm just going to start before I converted, when I was sort of looking into Islam, just so you can kind of understand where my headspace was at. So when I first started learning about Islam, I didn't give too much thought to hijab, if I'm being honest. So at this point, the hijab wasn't something that I thought about too much. I didn't really know a whole lot about it at the time, because I was really just starting to learn about Islam in the first couple of months, I would say. And so my thinking on it at the time was kind of that I would wear the hijab when I get older, because I didn't understand the meaning of hijab yet. I knew that it was something in Islam, but I hadn't looked into it a whole lot. Like I said, I was just kind of beginning, I was just learning, and I wasn't at that point yet. I didn't have the intention to wear it at that point, but I'm so glad that that did change. I'm very thankful because obviously now I am a full-time hijabi and I'm very grateful for it. I love my hijab. It is so important to me now. But yeah, my relationship with hijab has definitely changed over the course of the last 3-4 years, I would say. Of course, at some point I did begin to learn about the hijab, and the more that I learned about it, the more beautiful I thought that it was. I thought the concept was so beautiful. I really thought it was an amazing act of worship, and I wasn't fully comfortable yet with wearing it full time, but I think I kind of knew in the back of my head that I would want to wear it full time eventually. I just wasn't ready yet because I still hadn't converted either. It took me a while to convert, and I did touch on this in my revert story video, so if you'd like to check that out, please do. I'm not really going to go too in detail with my conversion story because I did already talk about that. And a part of why I was kind of worried about wearing it was that I was worried about the judgment from other people. That's also something that held me back from converting as well. So it took me a while to get to a point where I felt comfortable wearing the hijab, even though I did really want to wear it. So I just began with a very small steps. So at the very beginning, when I first learned about the hijab and I knew that I wanted to wear it, I started purchasing more modest clothing. I worked at a clothing store at the time, so I was very fortunate that I had a discount and I would pick out modest clothing every once in a while, and that's kind of how I started out. Although I have to admit now, I don't really wear those clothes because they're not really up to the standard of modesty that I would wear outside. It is sort of a learning process to know what you should buy to wear hijab. And it took me a while to figure that out, but it just goes to show that we're all kind of on our own journey, and sometimes it takes a while to kind of figure it out. At this time too, I also began following hijabis on social media. I don't really know how I came across hijabis on social media. They just kind of started showing up, I guess, in like my feed. And so I started following them because I just thought it was really inspiring to be able to open up social media and see hijabis and visibly Muslim women. And it made me want to put on the hijab sooner because it was just nice to see that these women who just seem to be very happy in their lives and they're just wearing hijab, and I don't know, it was very inspiring. I don't know how to explain it. I think I also began to kind of notice hijabis outside more because the more I was thinking about hijab, the more that I kind of paid attention to hijabis around me, and I know it kind of made me kind of sad because I wanted to like go up and like talk to them. I just wanted to like acknowledge them in some way, if that makes sense. And so like I said, it was kind of gradual for me to wear hijab. I started out with, you know, buying the modest clothing, or more modest, I should say. From there, the next step was to purchase hijabs online, and it wasn't with the intention to wear it out full time yet, but to actually practice wearing it. I remember when I ordered the hijabs, I was so excited when they came in. It just felt like there was so much time had built up, and I was just so excited to finally get to try on the hijab and just see what it like felt like, I guess. One day I just remember getting so excited to try on these hijabs that I purchased, and so I went to the bathroom mirror and I started putting them on, and I remember just feeling like this was like a big moment, and I just feel like it was so built up in my head to be like that there would be like this instant connection. And I think part of it is because I had heard from a lot of women on social media that they were saying that they kind of felt like this instant connection, and they felt so beautiful in it, and they were just instantly like an instant connection, you know? I don't want to say that I was disappointed by how I felt, but it was kind of like a little bit underwhelming, I guess, because I expected it to kind of feel like this instant connection, like I said, but it didn't. And I don't know, I was just kind of, maybe it's because I wasn't used to it. It wasn't something that I grew up with. It wasn't, you know, something that I ever expected prior to this to wear. It was a little bit of a kind of a sad moment for me. While I was excited to wear it, it just wasn't quite up to those expectations. Anyways, I didn't allow this feeling the first time I put on the hijab to stop me from putting on the hijab, or from at least trying. What I did was I would put on the hijab every once in a while to go outside, and when I felt comfortable doing so. The first time I literally did this was I was just going into the car, and I wasn't gonna leave the car. I was just going around for a little drive with my husband, and nobody would really see me. So that's kind of how I felt comfortable the first time. After that, I would just go to different cities where I didn't really know anyone there, so there wasn't any risk of anybody I knew running into me. But the first time that I did go to another city with hijab, it definitely felt very strange for me. And I felt so self-conscious, because I just remember feeling like people were staring at me the whole time. And I know I was like very awkward because of that. It definitely takes time to get used to the hijab, at least for me it did. And I know people weren't like actually staring at me. People were probably just minding their own business, but just in my head, it was that like, this is something so new. But obviously to these people, they didn't know me. They didn't know that it was new for me. Only I knew that, and my husband knew that. Anyways, about 2 years after I had started to learn about Islam in general, that is when I decided to convert, and I wanted to wear the hijab full time as well. And it was the perfect time for me too, because it was during COVID, so I didn't really have to see people too much. Everyone was self-isolating. It worked out so well for me, because I had made up in my mind that when I converted, I wanted to wear the hijab. I had decided that maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before I was ready to finally convert, that I would wear the hijab out every single time that I went out. And it wasn't that I was a full-time hijabi yet, so I allowed myself to have a little bit of a grace period where if I by mistake forgot, it wasn't that big of a deal yet, because A, I hadn't converted yet, and B, I wasn't a full-time hijabi yet. Because that was something that I was so scared about. I was so worried that I would become a full-time hijabi and I would just forget about my hijab and forget to wear it outside somehow. So that was a very big concern of mine for quite a while. So I think within that period of time that I gave myself, there was maybe like 1 or 2 days that I really forgot. It did make me feel kind of bad, but I think those times of forgetting also helped me to remember, if that makes sense. Like, you forget it maybe once or twice, and then you don't make that mistake again, because mistakes are kind of how we learn sometimes. Obviously, my feelings towards hijab have changed drastically since I was first learning about Islam, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm very thankful to be able to perform this act of worship. It is so important to me. It is a huge part of my everyday life. I just think it's so beautiful. I'm just very grateful to be able to wear the hijab and to be able to represent Islam. I cannot imagine my life without my hijab, and inshallah I will always wear it. I definitely don't consider myself to be perfect at hijab, and I think I will always be taking steps to improve. I think it's important for us to always be trying to do our best, even though we might not be perfect. Even though we're not perfect at something, it doesn't mean that you completely throw that act of worship to the side. You just keep trying to be better. And I think the main message that I have to take from this story is that everybody starts somewhere. It's important not to compare yourself to others or compare others to yourself. So that's kind of all that I really wanted to say. So I just want to say, if you made it to this point, thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe if you liked this video and want to see more videos from me.